welcome back. Welcome back on this ASMR channel for a new Genshin Impact Bedtime Story ASMR video. Today we are going to be reading one of the books. Let me just lower the volume a little bit because my voice in my ears is just it's almost as if I was yelling, but I know that I'm not. Anyways, so today we're going to be reading a book that I have been wanting to read for the longest time. Actually, ever since it was released in game, which hasn't been that long to be fair, but still. So it's a book that has 7 volumes, and it can be found in the theater lobby, as in the Imaginarium theater lobby. So I'm gonna try and read the 7 volumes, or at least include all 7 volumes in the video. Maybe not necessarily record them one shot because they're very long compared to the ones that I usually read for the bedtime story series. So yeah, this video is going to be soft spoken just because I feel like it's easier for me to read it that way. I don't feel like I run out of breath that easily when I'm speaking in a soft spoken voice versus when I'm whispering. So I think this one might be easier for me, especially since the volume are very, very long, and we have more than one volume to read. Okay, so let me just check some things. I think that at the beginning of each volume, we're supposed to have a little bit of dialogue between the numerous people who wrote this book, because there is apparently more than one, and I think we'll understand that as we go. Yeah, and just wanted to let you know I'm discovering the book at the same time I'm reading it for you, so yeah. But anyways, so I think it's time for you to sit back, relax, and enjoy. Let's get started. Volume 1. The binding and layout are exquisitely made, but the actual content is all handwritten. Judging from the handwriting, there is more than one author. Don't fuss about what we're writing. The cover needs to look good. That's the only way it'll give off that masterpiece feeling. This is the story of a little witch who journeyed far and wide to find the Undying fire. The story begins as such in the westernmost part of the magic continent, where a young witch was undergoing her witch certification and final trial. As per convention, one need only pass this trial to qualify as a true witch. The trial required lots to be drawn, and the results were completely random, a format which resulted in frequent accidents. But the magic continent was nothing if not firm in its adherence to tradition, and so, if you would believe it, they've stuck to the rules of drawing lots for trials since the very most ancient of times. There's a law in the outside world known as Morphe's Law. That's how you write it, right? Anyway, it means that bad things you worry about happening are probably going to happen, and thus did a completely unsurprising surprise strike the Little Witch. Some little witches got very simple tasks, stuff like synthesizing the final solution to the material world, the Philosopher's Stone, or bringing back Baleen from a Titanic universe roaming whale, or perhaps figuring how to get a parallel universe to find a no longer extant grimoire lost to a great ancient magical war, and so on and so on. But our main protagonist drew a topic of terrible, troubling tribulation to find and bring back the undying fire. Perhaps her honored teacher might have an opinion on the subject. Her teacher was just enjoying a most wonderful tea time with her friends, and she comforted her student. It must be because you're fated to become a really great witch, so your topic's a little harder than most. Unsolved mysteries are the most interesting after all. Really? That's right. When you come back, I'll be sure to welcome you with a tea party, one lovelier than this one even. The teacher's friends whispered to her, "Hey now, isn't that a bit much? You obviously only made up that question because you couldn't be bothered to think up a real exam question. If such a thing even existed, we'd have perpetual motion machines by now, don't you think? Couldn't you have done something else? You know, made her prove the grand unified theory based on the unified electroweak theory or something?" "Oh, don't you worry. Life is full of a great many lies," the teacher spoke brazenly. "And I did not lie, did I? I know that the undying fire does indeed exist. That blazing star. Hang on, when did I see it again?" The teacher spun around to her pupil, saying, "Considering that your trial is indeed quite challenging, you shall have 3 times the normal amount of time to complete it. I'll be rooting for you." Volume 2. You're more than halfway through and you haven't even pushed the plot forward 1 iota. Why is it all about the setting? And what would you know? Besides, this stuff isn't fleshing the setting out, it's elucidating natural science and other miscellaneous disciplines. Deep in the woods, nighttime. The little witch soared upon her broom beneath the blood-green moon. Blood-green was regarded as a symbol of great change in astrology. Though, whether such a change be for good or ill cannot be determined by any result. Actually, that shade symbolizes the dominant race of this world, the Nephilim. They were the children of gods and humans, and so their blood, too, was the conflicts between the red blood of humanity and golden, divine blood. And actually, the green moonlight was the result of the moon's physical composition, the distance between the planet and its moon, atmospheric scattering, and other factors. Anyway, so the little witch was soaring upon her broom beneath the blood-green moon, and then she met a young lady who claimed to be a fortune teller. "I wish to become a witch's familiar," said the young lady. But before they could even consider that, the little witch had something to ask. "Can fortune tellers read the skeins of fate?" The fortune teller then explained the underlying principles. Put simply, it's something like this. In our world, the stars are the heavenly strings by which humans are bound. But in other worlds, the subjects of astrological study are the solar ecliptic energies, the various lunar energies of the satellites, the will energy of the celestial rulers of the planets, the scattered interference energy of distant stars, and the dark energy that suffuses the pitch-black cosmos. Of course, it's not like these things don't exert influence on our planet. They have merely been greatly weakened by a giant sky shroud. As such, astrology on other worlds is far more abstract than that which is practiced in ours. By the way, other planets refer to an actual celestial bodies as an archon, and a theorized one as a virtual. The planet the little witch was on was no exception. You see, we also call a will that comes down from the heavens an archon. They are normally planets that have sentient life on them, and they number 7, and therefore they are called the 7 archons. As for the virtuals, their numbers varies between 1, 2, and 4. The planet the little witch was on may well have been 1. And in the case of such a world, the virtual would be the dark sun. Astrologists and diviners are in essence performing weight calculations on the sky shroud, the cosmos, and the archon and virtual celestial bodies before deducing individual developmental tendencies from world to world. But the relative weight of the sky shroud over our planet is just way too great, and so investigating it already allows us to obtain very precise results. As for the world the little witch and astrologists were on, they would have to go through the entire formula. After the little witch finished listening, she was very impressed by the fortune teller's learning and technique. Now they could speak of the matter of familiarhood. To be a witch's familiar was to share in her magic. And with magic, one could peer into more destinies. That said, becoming a familiar could have unforeseen side effects. It was hard to say what might happen. Yes, that's what the blood green moon means. Great change which can't be judged as good or ill by the outcome. See how it all comes together? We didn't go off topic. It is a shame that I am still not a great witch. I can't make you my familiar yet, said the little witch. I know of another way to establish a contract with a witch. It seems we must resort to using it, said the young little lady. This was the night bathed in blood-green moonlight, and it was also, coincidentally, the witch's night carnival. By the way, the night carnival is an ancient, taboo ceremony. Legend has it that at such times, the witches' magical powers are at their apex. They hold rituals in secret, offering sacrifices and keeping the bonfires burning through the night. This tradition had been forgotten in the westernmost parts of the magical continent, but for some reason it had been revived within the deep woods. Normally, this was an event that only great witches or figures greater still could be invited to or invite others to attend. In practice though, participation in a carnival had a direct relation with a witch's romantic or marital status. In any case, for some totally unknown reason, the astrologist knew all about witches while the witch knew nothing about astrologists at all. The point is, they decided to go and check out the night carnival. Let's just go with it being a way to deal with the anxiety the little witch felt over not being able to find the undying fire. Under the blood-green moon, the great witches danced around the bonfire. The little witch and the young astrologist hid in the shadows of trees that grew so thick that even dense clouds couldn't compare, and even the bonfire could not illuminate them. We just need to wait till the day after the ancient forbidden night of revelry, when the dawnlight first breaks and the various great witches depart. In the grey embers will be a flame that never dies. When a mortal takes this flame and offers it up, that is equivalent to signing a contract with a witch, said the young lady. Does this method always work? The little witch asked. It is possible a witch could reject the contract, but witches do so love their spirit mediums, and I'm not afraid of becoming a fearsome creature, the young lady replied, her voice thick with yearning. In that case, isn't this an undying fire? Dark thoughts came into the little witch's mind. What if I took that flame for my own? And so, under the blood-green moonlight, the great witches sang their song. If all things a witch's opera be, then nothing true worth mourning would the world ever see. Our festival has come to a fruitful end, the story shall not stay its feet, and every night hence shall also be the witch's night. A sense of shame surged forth within the little witch as she listened from the shadows. It wasn't out of worry that those present great witches, and greater still, might include her teacher, school principal, instructors, or anything like that. She knew everyone at her school, and she was sure no one familiar was present. By the way, While the official rules at the school she attended were lax when it came to governing teachers and their students, students of similar age would still be ranked against each other. Students of different teachers were also permitted to interact outside of classes. The creation of this system could be traced back to the rise of the Western witches long ago. They did not shy away from exchanging secret hexes and rituals for their mutual benefit, which would also result in their swift rise in those days. Of course, the organization that the Little Witch belonged to was a direct successor of these Western witches. Also, this blurb definitely wasn't just added in here because I forgot about this world building earlier. Back to the story. She said to the fortune teller, "Since we have this opportunity, go bravely for it then. Once dawn comes, take that fire. If you should be so unfortunate as to become a monster, I will give you a quick end. You'll not suffer." As a gift to commemorate this friendship, the young lady gave her treasured crystal ball to the Little Witch. This crystal ball feels joy for all known destined paths, and its heart breaks for all unrevealed tragedies. If you ever feel lost, allow it to be your oracle. Actually, there's a story behind this crystal ball. Volume 3. Some mysterious handwriting appears before the main text. It's so rare for R to be in her right mind for a spell. Should she really be wasting the precious little lucid time she has writing this? Don't worry, for a witch, this is the most important thing. In her travels, the Little Witch encountered a group of people getting ready to kill demon kings. She decided to join them and go kill some demon kings. They told her, "The more demon kings you kill, the greater your witch's power will grow." This is, in fact, true. Then they encountered a mimic demon king. After this whole affair, the Little Witch would write a demon king slaying chronicle each time she hunted one. They encountered the mimic demon king in a rundown old house. At first, no one knew what was going on, assuming that the place had just gone moldy. After breathing the mold spores in, her companions turned into the following respectively: a shoddy-looking ancient robot, which the Little Witch found really ugly and not up to snuff when compared to alchemy; a beautiful young maiden. This team member was originally male, leading to the witch initially wondering if this was some inversion of biological sequential hermaphroditism; and a pirate. She had no idea about this one. After some time, everyone in the squad developed identity disorders. Considering that her 3 companions appeared to be of the same species, they should not have exhibited such different natures, while the symptoms were, by contrast, so similar. The Little Witch discovered that the mold had its own consciousness and had the power that allowed similar life forms to turn into their ideal state. She did not change because she was already very pleased with herself. The Little Witch decided to test the mold's unique properties. She tried ingesting parts of it, finding it to be edible and without any side effects. Thus, it might have been a miscategorization to call it a mold, but since the mold in blue mold cheese could also be eaten, she decided to continue using that label. Something worth noting was that after a chunk had been cut away, the other mold threads would immediately disappear, possibly a sign of rudimentary collective intelligence. To facilitate further communication, the Little Witch wanted to turn into mold, and so she did. As it turned out, the mold colony only sent strange biological signals that needed deciphering. Through repeated observations, it seemed that their level of collective intelligence might be lower than she had previously thought. In the end, the mold killed committed suicide. The Little Witch deciphered its way of communicating communications, and as it turned out, the the colony experienced dissonance in self-perception and self-dissociation when it looked upon the little witch who had become just like them. The signals they sent had in fact been philosophical speculations. Who is me and who am I? Its intelligence was thus much higher than expected. Her friends recovered and told the little witch that this was the mimic Demon King. It was a species of Demon King in the same taxonomic class as standard Demon Kings, but not in the same order. It was a shame. She wished she had a chance to observe more and make some more records. Then they encountered a chipmunk Demon King, which her comrades had claimed beforehand was also a species of Demon King. It was classified as belonging to the same class and superorder as a standard Demon King, but was part of a different grand order. The chipmunk Demon King looked very fierce indeed, and the little witch suspected that this aggressiveness stemmed from behaviors acquired during the gestation period and while nurturing their offspring. Infiltrating its old nest, they found that it was male. One of her companions was eaten. It turned out that it simply had a bad temper. The little witch decided to report the findings of this investigation to prevent the tragedy from repeating itself. They attempted to feed the chipmunk Demon King seeds to lure it out. They lost another companion in the process. It seemed that this creature was not a vegetarian at all. Her final companion fled, having deduced from the pattern of events thus far that he was next on the chopping block. This was an incomplete logical induction. Both the process and conclusion were mistaken. Eventually, she used high-grade boar meat to lure the chipmunk Demon King into a trap. The creature's fat and fur made it resilient to fire and freezing. Though she had never dissected one, results indicated that it also had an organ enabling it to breathe underwater. A complete vacuum was used to dispatch it in the end. It seems that it still required aerobic respiration. Many Demon Kings seem very powerful. They all have their weaknesses. The same is true for alchemical life forms. Finally, the little witch had to face a standard Demon King, a great Demon King of the Primate Order. Volume 4. Some mysterious handwriting appears before the main text. Teritza, be good. How are there this many unresolved plot threads? Please have mercy on these old bones, would ya? So, the little witch found the great Demon King. I'm sure you all remember that defeating more Demon Kings causes witches to grow stronger. As such, the little witch was actually already amazingly powerful now. The great Demon King was simply no match for her. Can you really kill a being that looks like a human and has intelligence? Shouted the great Demon King in desperation. You're right. I didn't really intend to do anything to you anyway, said the little witch. I've never forgotten that my goal is to find the Undying fire. Researching, observing, and defeating Demon Kings was never even a means to the end, but rather just the building of a basic level of power. Then she used... I don't know magic or mysticism. Some super powerful, awesome technique to bind the great Demon King and brought it back to the largest nearby city. As a trainee of the Western witches who had come out to take her exam, she naturally had credentials that proved her identity. This provided her convenient passage to the many mortal kingdoms. Such things were also proven to be immensely hard to forge, thus avoiding the possibility of any cliché plot lines. This actually presented the mayor of the city with a conundrum. Yes. This is a good time to say that this nation was a loose confederacy. And since this was a mayor, there was no aristocracy or hereditary titles. For the handling of this great Demon King was truly quite tricky. I'm sure you all remember that the dominant race of this planet was the Nephilim, a hybrid of humans and gods. Right. So, the race of a great Demon King is actually the Demon King class. And so, Demon Kings were thus a type of Nephilim. And of course, since they were the dominant race, this meant that Nephilim were on the whole much stronger than normal humans. And since the setting for this world has hybrids of humans and gods, this meant that it has gods too. And taking a step back, the Nephilim also had a certain degree of legal immunity. If they had killed 5 humans or fewer, they couldn't be judged by human laws and had to be repatriated to Nephilim lands. And as it happened, this great Demon King had only stolen and eaten several thousand boars and chickens each. So this was fast turning into a diplomatic and political issue. Of course, the mayor could just stick the Western witches with all the blame, but that would offend every witch on the continent. Plus, the mayor was also a good friend of the Little Witch. She would never do anything that would hurt the organization of witches as a whole. Following some diplomatic rhetoric, some policies to appease it, and an explanation of the pros and cons, the captured Great Demon King accepted that retribution should only be exacted on the party who had done the wrong, meaning that his ire was now narrowed to the Little Witch alone. But he could not defeat her, so that was the end of that really. Finally, I hope everyone remembers that crystal ball, because the Little Witch's goals had become foggy at this stage, so she decided to take it out and have a look at it. Volume 5. The writing here is practically a messy scrawl. Perhaps the author doesn't really write much, or perhaps something happened? A familiar face surfaced in the crystal ball. This is your magic teacher speaking. The trial is over. You were unable to obtain your witch license. Volume 6. Is it still necessary to write this, the present moment being what it is? Allow me then. Opportunities to return to this world are few and far between. Alice would think the same. If we don't continue, then everything would have been meaningless from the start. The Little Witch hurried to where her teacher was. She wanted to question her teacher face to face about why the test had ended and why she was not to be permitted to become a witch. She wanted to throw things to the ground in front of her teacher, though of course she would only chuck the ones that could survive the impact and that she could practically lift herself while avoiding her teacher's favorite teacup. Of course, should the situation warrant it, she was even willing to smash her own second favorite teacup to show how serious this all was. After all, she'd bought that one herself rather than it having been given to her by friends. She valued such gifts as much as the friends themselves and would never use them as part of an emotional outburst. Octavia's back. Go catch up with her. That was what her teacher said calmly the moment they saw each other again. In an instant, the emotions that the Little Witch had stored up, brewed, fermented, plotted, and rehearsed, pouring out countless times, vanished. Octavia was a good friend of hers, and a good friend also of the legendary old witch. Her home had been destroyed, but as she lacked the courage to fight back, she had taken up a life of eternal wandering. She had seen many worlds and had told the Little Witch many tales about the sky beyond the sky. The entire cosmos is going to die soon. Things peaked but not long ago and are about to go south very fast. Octavia was sitting in a yard swathed in flowing sunlight, pouring tea into the teacups she and the Little Witch loved most. The Little Witch pulled a chair up and sat in it. You returned so suddenly, she said. We did not even prepare a chair for you. You're probably sitting in the old witch's chair. Many stars across the cosmos have gone out. I do not know how much time is left, Octavia said. So I wanted to come back to see you. Is that why my teacher and the others stopped all the witch tests? Because you came back and told them this? The Little Witch asked. Perhaps. In such a world, all things lose meaning. and there is no longer any need for you to become a witch. Then I shan't be angry at my teacher any longer, the little witch said. But will you be mad at me? I caused you to lose your chance to become one, Octavia said. I will, if you never return after leaving this time, came the little witch's reply. I'll go to the bedroom to get your chair. I can just sit in that old witch's chair, can't I? She's too old to get up and come sit in it nowadays. That's no good. That chair's hers, just as your chair's yours, the little witch argued her case earnestly with O. To each person a chair. That way, even if they are not present, their memories will be seated still. So we absolutely can't use the wrong chairs. Octavia smiled helplessly. And by way of apology for interrupting the process of the little witch becoming a proper one, she gave the latter a piece of news. So, the Undying fire really exists. It may be found at Volume 7. The binding and layout are exquisitely made, but the actual content is all handwritten. Judging from the handwriting, there is more than one author. I have already found the meaning of writing. That is to tell you, I do so wish you were here too. As she was buffeted by the waves of time, passing through the vortex where countless casualties converged, piercing countless threads of the weave, she missed a great many things. Even the memorial of the great witch she had so admired ended deserted, without her in attendance. Whatever they were, the point is that the little witch passed through all manner of haphazard trials and challenges and nonsensical stuff before she managed to arrive before the old witch. Actually, it's just that the little witch didn't think those experiences were worth talking about, nor did she know why anyone bothered spilling so much ink about all that earlier stuff. When all's said and done, the most important things were the witch's tea party and the goal she was pursuing. In truth, she had already seen it before her journey began, in a sky as dark as a sack of coal, or perhaps a cavern, for as we all know, there is no difference between the two. There hung a star giving off a weak radiance, resisting the world's darkness as it encroached on every side. As the universe gradually grew dim, and all stars and stars known as suns were extinguished one by one, everyone agreed to call it the Star of Scorpio. The little witch remembered hearing about this during the witch's tea party, but she only remembered the name and nothing else. Anyway, the little witch came before the old witch, who was actually the Star of Scorpio, that which burned still, even at the end of all things. However, her flame was very weak now, barely a faint ember. The little witch held her hand, which had become as dry and brittle as a withered branch. She remembered that the old witch was once a little witch as well, with pale and tender hands that once elegantly held teacups. Those same hands had been used to bring forth much magic, kindling the flames on many worlds. The little witch said, "Looks like everyone doesn't want the flame to go out, and I get it. It can't be helped. The last time we said farewell, you were there too. The witches said that long-lived witches would lose many things as the years went by. Life, death, love, and hate would cease to have much meaning. But that isn't true. Those are just words they used to comfort the companions who departed before them. Witches, in fact, treasure every infinitesimal flame and light that shines in the dark world bereft of hope all the more. They hold even the shadows that these flames would cast dear. You often said that you were not our equal, but I've always believed you to be the cutest, most powerful witch amongst us. You often said that you left little behind, but the stories you left to us hold countless worlds. Even should 100 years pass, or 1,000, even if the apocalypse that a certain astrologer witch worried about comes, even if all the long-lived witches die, the little light that emanates from these little worlds will not grow dim. That's right, you're the greatest great witch, far greater than us all. I miss you. Farewell. The old witch did not respond, for all that was left here was but an empty husk, no different from the many others that the little witch had encountered in her adventures. Indeed, they were even made of the same basic material, with the only difference between those and this being the minuscule light of a flame. And so, the little witch took the flame that was burning the old witch and set out on her homeward journey. Anyway, let's stop the story here. The little witch's adventures would continue though, for she had already decided to bring the old witch's fire across the universe to light every last corner of time. The end. Oh my gosh, you guys, I have to say, I had a lot of trouble with this one. There were so many words, I think, for maybe a non-native English speaker that were like hard to pronounce one after the other. For example, at some point I considered not saying the little witch anymore, but just the witch, because I was like the whittle, I couldn't say the little witch properly, the little witch. I couldn't say it properly and had to like repeat it so many times. Oh my gosh. And I feel like this entire book, all volumes, might not have been reviewed by like the game developers or something, or the how do you call those, not game designers, but like story writers, because, and I don't know if it's just the website I'm reading off, but I did check on another website, but still there were like sentences that had one word that made them not make sense, kinda. So I don't know if they haven't checked it yet because it's a new book or whatever, but anyways, yeah. I hope you enjoyed this one. I know I did. I was really excited reading it. I really wanted to know what the story was going to be, and I think, as you could see, like the little summaries in each volume we got after the main text each time, those little summaries heavily imply that each volume was written by a member of the Hexen, oh my god, I hope I'm going to be able to pronounce this, the Hexen Circle. And to be honest, I think that is a group I really want to meet in game. I think some members are deceased, some others are alive, some others we don't know much about. I'm very intrigued about Octavia. I really want to know more about her. Obviously, we know kind of a lot about Alice, I guess, Clee's mother. We know a lot about Raindaughter, I think that's how you pronounce it. So, kind of like Albedo's parent, kinda, creator, owner, how do you say that? Anyways, so the person who created Albedo, I guess. But I really want to know more about Octavia. I'm really intrigued by her. I don't know why, but anyways. So yeah, I was really excited about this book, and I have to say, I was not disappointed. But anyways, so I hope this was relaxing for you guys. And I think it's time for our usual outro. So you guys, it's time for me to wish you good night, or a good nap, or if you're using ASMR to try and focus on a task or a chore, or even some schoolwork that you're trying to complete, well, good luck with that. I will see you again very soon.